Raj, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Rick.
Should we do a quick cheers?
Of course, let's do
That's
it.
how we always start. Cheers.
Cheers to health, wealth, and prosperity.
I just had a proper tea episode previously. So we had Richard O'Connor from B2B Marketing, and
Yeah.
I had a whole lesson on tea.
Yeah.
First of all,
tea.
tea.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so we had,
Well,
we had
you're in
breakfast
England.
tea. Yeah, well, yeah, it was kind of nice. It was the first tea episode I've had.
Yeah.
And I mean, literally, he asked for a teaspoon. And I was like, I didn't even know there were spoons for tea. So we had this whole proper setup. It was great. I ended up drinking the whole thing. And, you know,
Yeah.
he talked.
Yeah.
I drank, which is how it typically goes. But I loved it.
Well, there you go. So Londoners or people in England, they definitely prefer tea to coffee. And I only drink tea. I don't drink coffee
You
at
don't drink
all.
coffee at all. Yeah. Should we just stop the episode right now? So you don't like the taste, or what? What's
No, actually, I feel it probably sends me into an adrenaline rush. Coffee.
what about decaf?
I don't know, never tried.
Really?
Because the taste hasn't sunk in well. I've
Uh,
never tried a decaf even.
so I mean, you're in sales. I feel like you have to drink coffee, right? Coffee.
Well,
coffee's
very
for
often
closers?
people will ask, would you like a cup of tea or a coffee? If it is in England, cup of tea is always the first thing.
Yeah.
They ask you, first thing is tea.
You're gonna have a hard time in the U.S.
Is it?
I mean, listen. There's lots of tea drinkers in the U.S., but if it's in the morning, I'd say coffee is 99% morning routine.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
well,
well, did you enjoy your tea then?
I did. It was
did.
nice. Yeah, I had to learn. I needed to put a little milk in it.
Yeah.
Which Neil Michael, we were talked about, says you don't really like tea if you put milk and sugar in it. So
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
Neil's coffee, that's a story for another day.
All right, so that's after the show. So I wanted to have you on the show because while you sit on the sales side, all you do is work with partner marketers every day.
That's
And
correct.
I think you have an interesting, perspective of, especially across the EMEA market, understanding what's working, not working in partner marketing, and
Sure.
just beyond partner marketing, just marketing in general. Because I mean, you touch all sorts of accounts and all sorts of roles. So I just thought it'd be a fascinating perspective as I'm out here in London and getting some actual practitioners on the show to get your perspective across all of it.
Yep.
Real quickly for the audience, why don't you just talk about, what is your role at Foundry? What is it you do?
Sure. So as of now, I look after partner and alliances marketing for Foundry, covering Western Europe and Benelux. So when we say Western Europe, that is UK, France, Ireland, of course, and then Benelux is a standalone region in itself. Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg. Yeah. And then I have very recently added events into my portfolio, which I feel like today very, very relevant, because if you particularly talk to your partner marketeers, they will tell you partners are very interested in seeing customers face to face. Now, with partner marketing as a portfolio on one side, adding events to it, think like that's a natural coming together. Yeah.
I love it.
I'm the VP.
I want to definitely dig into the events side more. I think there's a
Sure.
lot there. But, first, it's interesting to hear about, the areas you're covering. If I go back, you have a lot more experience beyond this region. I'd love to hear
correct,
more
yeah.
about your story and how you got here.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting one. So I'm born and brought up in India. And of course, all the schooling, college, university, all done in India. And obviously done a few little bit of, with studying, a little bit of job here and there. But my first real job was actually in subscription selling for a media company that was specializing in automotive market intelligence.
Like magazine subscriptions?
No, it was digital.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about back in 2004.
Okay, so straight into digital.
Yes,
Love it.
and it was, I probably didn't realize how important that role was because, you are exposed to something absolutely new, right? And this was a UK-based headquartered company, and they were actually selling market intelligence to the likes of Volvo, Volkswagen, all of those automotive companies. And my audience, or who I spoke to, was their marketing directors, headquarter level. And it was very easy to get to those meetings because it was a very niche service they were providing, which people needed. And so if I reached out to Volvo and said, yeah, I need a meeting with your marketing director, it just came like that. And I thought, oh, this is easy, man. So that was the real first stint on my work experience.
Oh, I'd hate to work for you because you'd be like, what do you mean you can't get a meeting? It's easy.
I know, right? But that was actually only the starting. And of course, you believe, oh, sales world is easy. You're speaking to the right people and orders were flowing. Our team got bigger and I took over the team. And obviously, it's an offshore solution, because Bangalore, where I was becoming the tech headquarters for especially anything offshore.
Okay.
So, call centers, these kind of offshore services. And then, the team was growing and it reached a point I randomly got offered a role for Dubai from a media company. And I'm like, oh, I'm young, single. It's time to go and explore.
I love it.
Just went for it.
Different country. Let's go.
Different country. And
what was that like culturally, going from India to Dubai?
Dubai is, I'd say, a 5-star India.
Yeah, interesting.
Because it's very glamorous.
Yeah.
And, and money is there, right? You go into a job which pays you well. You are living a very luxurious life. But quite a lot of the population there are from Asian countries. Mm-hmm. So you don't really feel like it's completely culturally changed. Yes, you see a lot of Indians, you see a lot of Pakistanis, Filipinos, English, even American. So we had our team there, or maybe I'll come to that. So anyway, I moved to Dubai. And of course, whatever I learned or I thought previously, that was the absolute opposite. I did not realize I was going in to sell yellow pages.
Oh, really?
And that was, hard work.
No, did you know that going into the job, or did they kind of...
Well, it changed through the process.
Oh, okay.
What was sold is not what you were doing, right?
Happens to a lot of people when they get a job, right?
Of course. And then, it's a decision whether to stay and see how this goes off, or to completely leave and leave everything and come back.
Yeah.
I chose the former and I stayed. And this is landed in Dubai in June, which means serious summertime, really hot, wearing suit boot, but walking in that heat, man. I was like, okay, sales is not the job for me. Absolute opposite. But then within a few months, obviously, Dubai also gives you that kind of opportunities to find the right job that fits your profile and whatever. So I moved to the biggest publisher in Dubai, or in Middle East. They headhunted me for a role for one of their magazines, and it's called Channel Middle East. So again, probably this was meant to happen, right?
Yeah.
I joined them, and guess what? It was pure play print world.
Oh,
in 2007.
So we did get to print after all.
Yes.
Okay.
After digital, came back to print and subscriptions as those days to print, and pure play ad selling. And it was actually the year before, when I joined them, it was a year before recession, 2008. And they had also, quite a few publications which are on technology. And one by one, I started, branching out to all of those brands. And trust me when I say this, recession at that point actually did me well. Because I was right at the bottom of the, of the chain. Yeah. And if you put in hard work, you got rewarded. So, you just do not think, oh, this is a tough market for me. Actually, you think, I'm at the beginning of my career. I need to make this work. So it really worked for me. And I had a fantastic couple of years. And then I got headhunted by one of their competition, which was then the IDG, now Foundry's local licensee.
Interesting. I want to pause right there real quick, because it's interesting you say that about the recession and that, the reward for hard work. Because one of the things I've seen in terms of, my day job and leading a commercial team was, we took on a lot of sales reps in 2020, 2021 when we saw digital booming, right? Digital advertising boomed in that time, especially in the tech space. There was a lot of advertising budget, especially because a lot of events budget went digital. And we saw a lot of people get into sales thinking, oh, this is easy.
Yep.
And all of a sudden budgets got a little harder a couple of years later, and we saw a lot of layoffs, a lot of tech budget pulled back. And then I've still seen people excel and do amazing stuff.
Of course.
But not everybody, because a lot of people came in thinking, oh, this isn't hard.
Yeah.
Budget's getting thrown at me. And then all of a sudden, when you have to really prove yourself, it really separates people who know what they're doing, can work hard, provide value, versus the people that were, I don't want to say they were skating by, but
of course,
there was a lot of budget out there for it to be had.
Absolutely. And it'll always be there too. Again, people buy from people. If you come across as someone who can be trusted, people will want to work with you.
Yeah.
Yes, not all the time they'll have the money, but when they have the money, you'll be the first person they'll think of.
Yeah.
And it's always the case of delivering what you think will bring value to your customer. Not all, everything in our portfolio is relevant to that customer maybe. Do not throw everything in front. Instead, give them what they are really looking to, spend their money on and what they will find as value on, return on investment.
So let me ask, you were doing well at the channel publication.
Yep.
Why leave?
Because obviously it's at that time, I am still at the, very early stages of my career, and what was on offer was really good. And again, growth, aspiration-wise, you want to grow, right?
Yeah.
And of course, I came into IDG's licensee as a sales director. By then, I have reached the director place.
Yeah.
That was quite quick, if you ask me, but it did work in my favor. And I stayed with them for 6 years. And at the end of those 6, by the time I was leaving, I had reached the status of a publisher.
So explain the licensee part real quick. So, because I know that was a big part of IDG's business.
Of course.
And I'll be honest, I think there's a lot of people at IDG don't really understand the licensing side of things if they're working within a region where we own the publication. So how does the licensee part work?
So we have our brands like the CIO, Computer World, Network World, Reseller World, whatever, all of those brands, basically you are giving the licensee that opportunity to take that brand name and publish into the local market with the local flavor. So you will still hold on to those names. Instead of CIO, though, we called it Computer News Middle East.
So it could be relevant for that particular region.
Audience. So Computer News Middle East was CIO's local brand. Or CIO locally.
And you were responsible for the sales efforts for that
Everything.
local brand.
So sales, editorial, digital, finance, they all reported into me.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was actually, that opened up my eyes beyond commercial. Because yes, us salespeople, we only think about revenue.
Yeah.
But the delivery challenges you see from the other experience. Or editorial, again, if you don't have a brand that actually hits or speaks to the audience in the right time, you don't have a sales proposition.
Readers, the other customer, right?
Exactly.
on the ad sales side, we think our customers are the marketers, right?
Yeah.
And big part of IDG's customer base are the readers, the tech buyers.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. So by the time I was there, I got promoted to the publisher status, and that meant not just ad sales. Quite a lot of Middle East revenue comes from events. I'm sure you know this from, our IDC team in Middle East. They are flying high, right? And Middle East is a very face-to-face market. And events, I used to pretty much run like one event every week.
Wow.
And to that extent, some of the events were 600 attendee events.
All in Dubai, or were they kind of around?
We did mainly in Dubai.
Okay.
But we used to do events in Saudi or in Qatar, but remotely managed.
Okay.
So my team will go, but I had never traveled for those.
Okay.
Anyway, so it reached a point, again, Middle East is very well with, making money and luxurious life and whatever. It reached a point in my personal life, I felt like, okay, I need to pause. My daughter was only 3 then.
Okay.
I need to give her more time. Mommy is working 24/7.
Yeah.
Was not good. And we decided to leave Dubai. And there's also a saying, if you came into Dubai and you cross the 10-year mark, you are never going to leave.
Really?
We were there 9 years and 6 months. So, of course,
You knew it was coming, right?
it was coming. So we decided to leave. And that's when
And did you come here to the UK?
Yeah,
Okay.
so IDG said, well, Raj, don't leave. Come and join IDG Global Solutions.
Yeah.
And look after Middle East. So that's how I started off at, in this role here.
And better work-life balance, time with your daughter.
Absolutely, right? Yeah. I have only one girl, and she's 11 now. But I feel like
Your baby.
I know, still my baby. Yeah, so I'm sure my colleagues will tell you every weekend is all about her.
Yeah.
My social life is about her.
I love it. Yeah, I have 3, but my oldest is a girl, and she will always be my baby little girl.
I know, right?
So
Yeah.
feel bad for the boys. I was gonna try to even it out, but
Of course.
she's my princess,
I will tell you one more thing. So yesterday I told her, I'm going to go and do this podcast. And she's like, is that going to be recorded? Are you going to be on YouTube? I'm like, yeah, maybe. Oh my God, you're a celebrity.
Oh.
You got to tell my name. I said, of course I will tell them your name. So she's Renee. I am saying this, Renee.
Renee,
Yeah,
I love it. Oh, it's beautiful. She's going to love this. Tell her to share it with all her friends. Watch, this is like the only episode that goes viral. We're like on TikTok. And
Yeah, exactly, right.
whatever it takes, right?
Whatever it takes.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, so that's how I ended up here. So initial few years, I looked after Middle East. And it was then, our business was slightly different, right? IDG Global Solutions, or the IGS, was almost like the in-house agency for IDG.
Yeah.
And we basically sold different, the entire portfolio, but to all of the EMEA markets.
And that was all
and
marketers.
whatever.
That wasn't just partner marketing at that time, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and then of course, then I took over a few EMEA accounts where there was no conversation was there. So I started off with pretty much, first outreach, and they did work with us, and it was successful. And then 2 years ago, I took over partner and alliances marketing, and yeah, safe to say it's definitely the growing part of the business, as I'm sure you will vouch for that too.
Yeah, there's a lot I want to dig in there. I'm going to pause on some of it because I want to come back to the cultural aspect of marketing. We'll come back to that, but just to dive into the partner side. So you went from, servicing digital marketers, event marketers, across the whole company to really focusing on partner.
Correct.
What was that transition like for you? Like, what are the differences, similarities that you saw going from a generalist corporate marketer to, specifically just a partner marketer?
Of course. I mean, what is the best way to explain this? Okay, let's say, when you're speaking with a field marketer, they have a set budget, a set KPI, set objective. That's it. This is my money. This is what I want to achieve with it. Let's run with it. Whereas partner marketing is a lot more complex because it's not one party in the equation, right? It's two or multiple entities coming together to achieve a common goal. Now, what is very interesting in this mix is, on the outside, when we are the ones trying to sell to them, we can actually read between those conversations on what is each person's requirement, and then going back to them with a solution. I don't know, it gives me satisfaction because they don't know what they want. We are sort of, coming up with that plan for them. That's what's interesting.
It's almost more like a consultative approach, right?
Correct.
Where you have to really
absolutely
understand and deliver value, right? Not just
I have never been a boiler room salesperson. I've always been a relationship-based salesperson. And this works perfectly well in that space, right? Because you're listening to people and then you're coming up with a game plan that will work for them.
What are some of the typical go-to-market strategies that you see in EMEA? Is there any similarities to how people are going to market with partner marketing?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. So I don't know, we have had a partner dinner we hosted back in November with a few very senior partner marketeers from different companies coming together and discussing the same topic, right? What we understood from the consensus there is that everybody is looking at specialization, right? You find a speciality and then team up with partners to better understand the customer and then communicate with them and collaborate with them. That seems to be like a go-to-market strategy for most of the EMEA-wide vendors, partner marketers at least. So if you're coming together as AWS and Intel, there is that communication bit and the collaboration bit on a specific topic. So specializing, understanding the customer need, and then the communication and collaboration seems to be the main strategy.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I've seen specifically, especially around storytelling. So it's aligned with exactly what you're saying. And then what is that story that we're trying to tell in the market? I know John Gallant, someone I interviewed early on, he said, one of the challenges right now is there's so many people doing similar, so many people doing what seems to be similar things in the market.
Yep.
So it's really hard to differentiate yourself. So what story are you telling to help yourself really stand out and stand apart from the noise?
Yeah. No, I agree. That's definitely one of the challenges. So, when we touch on the challenge bit, of course, partner marketing, as complex as it is, it has so many challenges. One priority that I have seen is this year with the difficult economic conditions, or the last couple of years, it's all about penetrating into your existing accounts and looking to find additional possibilities within those accounts, as opposed to solely pursuing new opportunities. Yes, they are looking for new opportunities, but your existing customer is your best customer. That, I'm sure that echoes with every business, but partner marketing, they are seeing it more and more coming out.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, in this economic downturn, I don't know if we're allowed to use that word.
I don't know. We shouldn't say that.
Is it a recession? Is it not a recession? I don't know. But one of the things that we've seen is definitely a focus on existing customers. What you just said, right? And we've seen a big shift away from net new and really how do we service existing customers and grow market share? And by and large, I think it comes down to what is the data we have available to help us do that, right? So what are some best practices you're seeing in terms of companies identifying the accounts they want to go after and how to target and go after those accounts?
Of course. So if you think about tier one vendors, their portfolio is not restricted to one solution, right? And then when you're talking about multiple solutions, they can find ways of partnering with different type of either alliance or channel or whatever that may be, or technology partners. You can find ways of partnering with different set of entities. And the best practice I definitely see is, there might be a time where a tier one vendor and another tier one vendor will not be seen together because it's not, it's against the company policy to be in the same room together.
Yeah.
But at the same time, on the marketing front, they're coming together and talking about a joint value proposition, right? So it's as simple as you take a laptop. If the laptop is produced, until it reaches the customer, there's so many different components to it, right? From the secure, antivirus, the operating system, the cloud, whatever that may be, security or whatever that may be. There are multiple parties involved in it, and there's multiple ways of collaborating with each other.
Now, you mentioned there's numerous challenges that you're seeing out there, and I think that's unique in the sense that it's not unique, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of marketers think like, oh, I'm facing this challenge. I feel like I'm facing it alone.
Yeah.
What common challenges are you seeing out there that may not be unique, that it's kind of more widespread and people are not alone in facing these challenges?
Of course. I would say, okay, so let's take a step back. 10 years ago, something I had written a blog, and it was about partner marketing.
Really?
Without realizing. It's like now a full circle almost. And that blog actually read, the heading of that blog was, partner participation is paramount. 10 years down the line, it still is the main challenge.
And is that the challenge, getting partners to participate?
No, when we say partner participation in the sense, it's not into an MDF program. It's, say, two partners coming together to take one message to market. Both parties have to be equally invested in that program. And that seems to be the challenge one across any part of the world, not just in EMEA, of course in EMEA too. The other, if you have to take one step closer and look at EMEA as a region, execution speed can vary due to differences in languages, culture, currencies, because you're talking about multiple countries with multiple languages, multiple currencies. Right? And so an EMEA partner marketing director cannot just take a decision, this is going to be my strategy for this year, and then expect it to be implemented straight away across all of those countries.
So you almost need some flexibility in terms of how it's executed.
Exactly.
Okay.
Local language nuances, cultural nuances, as currency nuances.
Yeah, I mean, I hear skin in the game a lot.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not as simple as, well, I think, take it back.
Yep.
Sometimes it is as simple as giving MDF out, but the challenge with that is, to your point, there's no skin in the game on the other side.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. Again, if you think about it, this again is not an EMEA specific challenge, I would think. I'm assuming it's the same in other parts of the world from US or APAC. Building long-term relationship with your customer.
Yeah.
Right? Again, going back to that same topic about people buy from people, the market is so volatile at the moment. People are changing. Jobs are either changing or switching in, switching off, whatever. Means how do you keep that relationship with your customer, the partner? That is another challenge I have seen.
What are you seeing work well in terms of building relationships with those partners? Is it face-to-face? Is it, what are you seeing work well?
Again, that depends on partner type.
Yeah.
Right? If it is a more technology partner, it's what value can partner A add to partner B? Why should you partner? What is the reason for us to come together? So that need to be really articulated. And again, going back to how that can be successful is by drawing out a strategy. Document that strategy. What is the KPI to be achieved? How will you measure success? What's the ROI expected? You have to define all of this. And then, again, that's when two parties come together, really invested into a joint go-to-market initiative, right? The other challenge I have seen in EMEA is the CFO's office buy-in into partner programs.
What do you mean?
So, as opposed to a field marketing campaign, partner marketing campaigns can be slightly convoluted in seeing that return on investment. So, how do you tell the CFO, I want X amount of dollars to do a joint go-to-market campaign with, X partner, and this is what it will result in. Can all partners, all entities at this point, at the start of a discussion, define that KPI for themselves? Of course, sales, you have read that partner marketing study, Foundry's, right?
Yeah.
It says revenue generation is number one priority. But can you be as clear and say, by joining hands with X partner, the revenue will reach here? That seems to be a challenge many vendors are facing.
Yeah, no, so I always do a little show prep for every episode, and I sit down with a guest. We did it ourselves, and we talk. it's more aligned to help me understand the questions I want to ask. We don't go over like, here's what I'm going to ask you, think about this answer, right? And so I'm sitting down with Pure Storage tomorrow. It's interesting because that's actually going to appear before this episode.
Right.
But one of the things he was talking about, and I really want to dig into, and I don't know the answer, right? Because we keep the shows authentic and real, is, he was saying that we've really, to your point, documented strategy in terms of what success is. Partner engagement, partner relationship is a big part of that. And one of the things I want to ask him is like, well, how do you measure that? And going back to your point, like to the CFO, it doesn't always come down to the numbers because it's really hard to show numbers about how happy your partners are.
Exactly.
But that also seems to be key to partner marketing success.
Absolutely.
Happy partners, engaged partners. But again, that's a hard KPI to measure. So.
Absolutely. I mean, if you think about technology, not technology partners, let's think about the MDF scenario. You are working with a distributor, reseller, system integrator, all of that on that MDF space. Same distributor, reseller is also probably carrying competing vendors.
Right.
And very often, if you're a storage distributor or a storage reseller, highly likely that they have all of the storage vendors in their portfolio. Who gets the priority? Okay, maybe you will look at it year on year thinking, yes, you know what, this partner has brought me more money this year compared to last year. But in the large scheme of things, I'm a very small person in their large portfolio. So how do we influence, or how do they influence those partners to speak their story more?
Relationship?
Exactly. And how will you quantify that relationship? You can't, right?
Yeah, I mean, my answer would be wine. It's always wine. and as usual, you're doing all the talking and I'm doing all the drinking. So I think that's
good.
This show should really just be called Ricky Drinking and Listening. But it's like, that's what it should be. Nobody wants to hear from me. They want to hear from the guests. So I let the guests talk and I do the drinking. It's like why I went into sales, right?
Of course.
I want to talk a little bit about the priorities you're seeing this year. So it's end of February. It's almost my birthday.
I know.
Don't tell anybody.
Big one.
We're going out, what? Tomorrow? Or wait, what?
Day after.
It's Monday, right? I'm so lost track. I'm in London. I have no idea what day it is.
When did you fly in yesterday?
I flew in yesterday, Sunday. So I flew in, I left Saturday. I arrived Sunday morning.
Right.
Tried to get my bearings yesterday. Barely slept last night. It's Monday now.
How long is the flight?
10 hours from Colorado.
Oh, okay, that's a long one.
Yeah, which is actually kind of good for red eye because you don't want people come from Boston, New York, and I think it's like a 5 to 6 hour flight. Like that's tough for red eye, right? Because you don't fall asleep right when you get on the plane, right? So San Francisco, to Colorado, it's not so bad because it's 10 hours, so you can get on, eat, then maybe go to sleep, maybe get 6-7 hours of sleep. I never sleep on planes.
Never.
As much as I travel, you think I can't sleep on planes.
I am actually, I maybe shouldn't say this, it's very personal, but if I'm traveling with business, I won't sleep.
Oh,
even
really?
in hotel rooms.
What do you mean?
I can't sleep at all. So there was a work trip.
Even in a hotel room? Really?
There was a work trip back in 2019. We'd gone to South Africa, long flight, 5 days, all 5 days in South Africa. I've barely slept through the whole week.
What?
Came back home and slept for, I think, some 30 hours straight.
Hold on. What do you like try to sleep and you're just in bed awake?
That's
or
it.
Do you just
I'm not scared. So, half the people will ask me, are you scared of ghosts? No, I'm not scared. I just can't sleep.
Are you drinking enough? Because I feel like if you have enough drinks, you'll pass out, right? Like,
maybe I should.
I feel like I can fix this problem pretty easily, Raj. Like, just come out.
A bottle of wine and you're sorted.
Yeah, I mean, maybe 2 or 3. I think we can fix this problem for you.
Let's see. I'm yet to come out of it.
If there's nothing else that came out of today's episode, I figured out how to cure your not sleeping
my
on work trips.
My insomnia on work trips.
All right, so back to business. I'm going to sleep very well tonight, by the way. Priorities you're seeing this year. So it is February. It's the almost end of February, so we'll probably come out in March.
Yep.
What are you seeing this year? What's different about this year?
Definitely more vested partner alliances.
Okay.
What that means is, there was a time in the last few years, even if it's MDF or budgets, once defined, you just roll with it. We can see now both parties are asking questions. They want to see what's the real outcome from, a program. And they're asking all the right questions. Yes, that does not make sale any easy, but at least they are really invested in that conversation because they are looking at how that can benefit their business. So, I have at least had in the last couple of months, Jan, Feb, about 40 odd partner campaign discussions. And you can see they are really digging deep and they want to know how Foundry, for that matter, can add, value to them. What makes us different? What's our USP? They ask all the right questions. So I feel like, there's partner marketing is definitely on the growth curve, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because obviously that will drive a lot of, dollars into that effort. Foundry may not be the only organization that will benefit from it, but it's in the right kind of growth curve.
So doing the due diligence when working with, I'll say, a third-party partner like a Foundry.
Exactly. And definitely, always partner organizations are, massively under-resourced.
Yeah.
Working with third-party agencies definitely help them.
Is that coming out of the economic challenges of 2023, that they're under-resourced?
I think not necessarily, because, if you think about it, partner functions were few and far between in organizations previously. Let's say you take 5 years back. And then, yes, there are times that you're speaking to a tier 1 vendor and there's one person in their partner organization.
It's funny you say that, because as I ask the question, you start to answer, I'm thinking back, I feel like they've always been under-resourced to a certain extent.
Massively under-resourced. And what that means is, it gives opportunity for them to grow, for them to show the real ROI. That digging deep helps, because then they are coming out with, with a clear direction for their, budget facing and so on. They get more support. They hire agencies, third-party agencies who are specializing in, these kind of partner onboarding, enablement, and so on. That's it. It's
one of my favorite parts of this show is when I make connections in the conversation.
Yeah.
So earlier on, you talked about during the recession, it was a tough time, but for those that were working really hard could really show success and achieve great things. And the connection here is, you're under resourced as a partner marketer. You can really shine and show success and hey, despite what I had, despite the challenges, look at what I achieved and accelerate yourself.
Of course.
And I've seen that with so many partner marketers out there and the growth of their career and even just the growth that they're driving for their business, despite those resource challenges.
Absolutely.
They are achieving.
Definitely. And if you think about, there are some organizations which are only a partner channel. They can only sell through partner channel. They should be given more resources then, to develop. And, there was a time in the past, again, that partner marketing meant just few dinners, select few dinners, some channel evenings. But that necessarily is not doing the job, because you need more, messaging and content to show the value proposition, educate the market, stay with your partner to, show them success, train them, and, walk with them.
So what are some key attributes that you're seeing with teams that are successful that have these resource challenges? What is their approach? What is their strategy? Are you seeing any similarities? Because certainly a lot of the customers you're working with are probably resource strapped. How are they still achieving success?
By finding the right kind of partners, I'd say. So if you think about certain vendors or certain partners, okay, vendors is a wrong terminology because vendors are not the only people or only entities doing partner marketing. You have your GSIs and your ISVs and your, all of those in that space, and they have without taking names, certain partners have very select customers. They only want to reach out to those customers because that's their only focus, right? They don't want anything beyond that. They don't want to go throw a wider net and get new customers. They're only after those customers. Now, how can you make sure you address that customer at the right time through the right resources and when you are, massively under-resourced yourself? So it's identifying the right partners and documenting that strategy, how you're going to achieve your goal. Definitely, those are the two main attributes, I'd say.
All right. Documentation's key.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to dive a little bit into the cultural aspect of planning. And I think that's really rich with your background too, because you've worked with people all over the world, and you also work with people that are planning all over the world.
Yeah.
So what are some key challenges and also success stories or frameworks you have in terms of, I think what we hear a lot is globally consistent yet culturally relevant. And that's a nice saying, but how do you actually do it?
Yeah. That's a very right point you make there, right? If you think about all the tech giants, they're all US headquartered pretty much. Therefore, the marketing strategy is also planned at US level. Audiences are mostly, they're probably 60% of their market share also is in the US. But that strategy does not necessarily translate to the certain other parts of the world. It's how taking that overarching strategy to then cascade it down to that local market needs to sit with that team who are on ground. Yes, this is our company vision on marketing, and how now I take that vision to then make it culturally relevant to the audiences who are on ground. So there should definitely be a lot of thought being given around it. And I have seen that happening in many of the companies. Yes, they have identified this as a challenge. And then, they come up with local initiatives, whatever can work with their audience in that local market. So creating content. If, for example, you are a storage company and you're talking about a new storage solution, creating content with that local audience as case studies, as best practices is very relevant. So repurposing the overall strategy to make it relevant to your local audience.
So taking a white paper and just translating it doesn't work?
No, it definitely won't work.
Yeah, and that's a challenge too, because you could have limited resources, right? You're
Correct.
a small startup, right? You're developing a white paper in the US to translate it to, say, the German market.
Absolutely.
Cost effective.
Absolutely.
Right?
See, I'll give you that example. So when I was in Middle East, that publication was in English. Because if you are a tech decision maker, I'm sure you read English.
Yeah.
Right? Your university degree is pretty much, most often is in English. Barring certain countries, most of the tech decision makers are very well educated, and the technology terminologies can also not be translated to a local language very often. Like if you say virtualization, how do you then translate that into a local language? It's virtualization everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So again, at the same time, by translating a content which is produced globally into the local language does not make sense. What we need to do is make it more relevant to the reader it's being, submitted to. If you are a tech decision maker in, let's say, Norway, and you are actually taking a content asset which is produced in the US, you need to localize it with some case study and adding local customer insights.
I like it. I don't want to say it's easy to do, but that is a different way to be thinking about it in terms of how to regionalize and localize the content, right?
Yeah.
So, And interesting enough, I've seen some companies take that from an industry standpoint, right? So you might create like a generalized white paper, but then swap in industry case studies within the white paper itself, right? So again, create something once, but have multiple applications to it.
Absolutely.
All right. So what are you most excited about the year ahead in partner marketing?
So it is actually the last couple of years, like you and I both know, this is an area of growth, right? Yes, it's a lot more work, but it is very successful, fruitful work. And as I am taking over more responsibilities and I am talking to more.
I feel like I'm going to be reporting to you soon.
No,
you're doing wonderful.
No, but what that gives the opportunity for is to be in front of real game changes, right? And so you are learning. Learning never stops, right? You speak to somebody at any of these organizations, I come away with, that's a different outlook. So what I'm more excited about this year is how can we do more with less?
I love it.
Yeah.
It's funny, somebody recently said, which is a different take than on that, is how do you achieve more with less?
Yeah.
And I think that's tying too with your overall theme of, hey, these are tough times.
Yeah.
You can still achieve a lot.
Yeah.
Right. But you got to be smart about how you do it. And your point, you got to be locally relevant too, which is key.
Absolutely. I mean, see, when you also think about partners, a partner campaign, an MDF campaign, let's think about that. A partner is brought into the discussion, and is that partner how do they see success? What is that success measure for that partner? If it is revenue, how the revenue can be achieved. So, from our business, we produce content, we amplify content, we get people interested and hooked onto that content. We find that, that intent where people are engaging with the content to then produce, content that's relevant to them. Again, disseminate the content to them, capture the lead, and give it back to the client. It's still, journey is only begun. That lead now needs to actually convert into a sale at the partner's end. That's when they see it as a valuable campaign. So how do we bridge that gap? That's a very good challenge to come over this year.
Well, if there's any way that can help people do it, it's you, Raj. So I know you've seen a couple episodes and probably know what's coming next.
Yeah.
What is the advice you want to leave people on the road with?
Oh, well, stay relevant. So I did mention to you, I've been in the print era, subscription era, digital era. For that matter, I'm the 90s kid who used to pick up phone like that. So it's all about staying relevant and, sort of realizing it's a journey and not a destination. Always, keep yourselves, abreast with changes that are coming, keep innovating, embrace the changes, and go forward.
Stay relevant. I love it. My kids aren't even going to understand the term pick up the phone, but
I know, right?
That's another story for another day. Raj, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. And I have to do this, right?
What?
We said this at the end of the...
Oh, for Renee.
Yes, for Renee.
She wants us to do what?
She wants us to say, yo, bro, we have it covered.
We have it covered.